So we have a whole panel of people that are going to be joining us now from Cobb County. I'm going to make sure all of you are unmuted. Kristen Kennedy, I'm going to hand you presenter rights so that you can share your screen and introduce your whole team while I unmute all of them. 3, 2, 1. Okay, you are the presenter, Kristen.
All right, can you see my screen?
Yeah, I can see your screen.
Okay, fantastic. And see if you can see my face for a second too, just so put a face with a name.
Yep.
Hey everybody, I'm going to introduce the panel in just a second, but are we ready to go?
Yep, we're ready to go. We can see your screen, and I'm making sure all of your panelists are unmuted. Looks like they are.
Fantastic. All right, well, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for taking time to join us as we share our journey, which we're calling Future Focused Coaching, how we were prepared before the unfortunate spring and what we did during the spring, what we prepared for during the summer, and what we're doing now in Cobb County. So my name is Kristen Kennedy, and I'm gonna turn off my webcam now too, if I can, because that's probably distracting for you, and you have a face with a name now. Here's all my contact information. I'm more than happy to connect with you in the future on any topics. Today has been engaging. Thank you so much for the opportunity for this day and yesterday, as well as just listening to everyone's stories. We're all working on the same goal, which is really making sure our students are successful. So thank you again for this opportunity. I want to introduce the panel, and they are a few of the amazing 27 technology training integration specialists for Cobb County. So we have Dr. Monica Alicia, Catherine Kilkenny, Jamie Gore, Whitney Prather, and Jenna Parrish. And we are going to just kind of turn on our cameras so you can see us, but then we'll turn it off a little bit, and then we'll talk as we go. So thank you for everyone for joining us today as well. And this is today's work home Wednesday, so that's why we're seeing a little different backgrounds than normal. So I know in a lot of times, if you have any questions or anything, please use the chat. And then also we have a digital handout. Usually when we do this presentation, we drop links into the chat. And so I handed this digital handout to Learning Council, so hopefully they'll send that to you all as well. But if not, if you have a phone and you want to scan the QR code really quick, you can grab this digital handout. A lot of the resources that we are going to be sharing about today during our presentation is linked in this digital handout. All right, so just a little bit of information about Cobb County. So Cobb County is the northwest corner of the Metro Atlanta area, and we are the second largest school district population-wise in the state of Georgia, right behind Gwinnett. And I guess our latest claim to fame is that we have the Braves Stadium in Cobb County, and some people really like that, and some people really don't. Some facts about Cobb County schools, like I said, second largest, 23rd largest in the nation, and we really pride ourselves in student success. We really pride ourselves on being one team. Introducing the Cobb County Instructional Technology team, we really couldn't get a picture together this fall, so this is our picture, just like a lot of the Bitmoji classrooms. And our link to our website is in the bottom left-hand corner. But our team of 27 are classroom teachers. I always pride them of saying that they are teaching geeks who use technology. And so let's talk a little bit about what we've been doing over the last couple years. So we always are focusing on our district priorities and noticing that number one is that Cobb is the best place to teach, lead, and learn. So we are very servant leaders, making sure that our teachers and our support staff and our students have exactly what they need. So again, like I said, today I want to give you an overview of our Future focus philosophy and how it really helped with a smoother transition, if you could say that, this past spring, and how it's benefited over the summer and current times. So being future focused, the interesting thing is that I started looking at the dates. July 22nd, 2015, I was named director of Cobb County Schools. This is my 31st year in Cobb County, so I've had a lot of different hats, t-shirts. You know, we have t-shirts in school districts. And then on the 27th of July, I had the opportunity of adding 21 new technology training integration specialists to the team. So we were a brand new team. So it was very important for us to really focus on what is our vision, what is our mission. And so interesting enough, 5 years ago, we came up with this and continued to use this vision. And it's just interesting how timely it is now. And when we define digital age learners, we define digital age learners as not just students, but teachers, support staff, employees, even the chief academic officer is a digital age learner in Cobb. And then after we came up with our vision, we really focused on that. Our focus was going to really support the digital age classroom. And so we developed a model for the digital age classroom, and we kind of built out and said, okay, what are elements that really make a digital age classroom? And obviously teachers need to monitor student progress. They need to use a variety of engaging instructional strategies. They need to be focused on just characteristics or having good character, and digital citizenship and literacy fell into that. Really being mindful of the academic resources. What are some online academic resources that really support? And that topic has just exploded over the last 5 years. And then that digital workflow, really making sure that, you know, paper is not always the #1 way that students can turn in work, just checking boxes, that there's lots of different ways that students create, collaborate, communicate, and think critically, and then also giving that expansion of just multiple tech tools. And so we started that 5 years ago, instead of really focusing on, you know, what was the hot topic, but really trying to streamline and really support strategic goals. Another thing that we really started to do is really I started working with principals that wanted to come to optional training, and we really dove into a lot of research and a lot of literature and a lot of the supporting books on being a good digital leader and what those elements are. And at the same time, we started rolling out the MIE, Microsoft Innovative Educator certification, because we really wanted to just improve the baseline of all of our teachers and staff and our students with the productivity tools that we had. And it was interesting that our last presenter talked about learning pathways, because that was one thing that we started several years ago and continues. It's very popular this year, but really started trying to model blended learning and how students are teaching themselves on YouTube how to do anything for their hobbies, for their genius hour at home, but how could we model that in our school district as well? So once the certification for MIE took off, we added a BYOD certification, which was a self-enrollment module learning pathway for teachers, because we are not a one-to-one district, we're a BYOD district, which then lend itself perfectly into digital citizenship, which then at the same time we were starting to graduate a lot of MIEs. They wanted to go beyond MIE. And then also smart tech. We use Smart Learning Suite online and Smart Digital Notebook for our engagement tools with our interactive flat panels. So those are all learning pathways that they can, teachers can earn certification. And then the icon in the center, which is the heart of us, which is coaching. And we don't just kind of just come into school and throw seeds and walk out. Each of the TTISs serve about 4 to 5 schools. And so not only do they go in and throw seeds, but they kind of take a check on the soil and see the different soil types or the teachers and see where they are and kind of take them where they are and then move them with personal coaching and going into the classroom and doing a lot of job embedded training. So this were just kind of some stats of our MIE, that our big push was the 2018 rollout, because we knew that some upcoming projects for the district would be coming 19, 20, and then this year as well. So kind of some stats on the participation for the Microsoft Innovative Educator certification over the last 2 years. Then something happened around March 13th. And I think everybody knows what that is, but what we try to do is really make an opportunity or out of the crisis. And so within 24 hours, the district level leadership was really working on a lot of different resources to support our teachers that were going to go 100% remote over the weekend, basically. And our team started working 24 hours a day. And one of the things that we did is we really started kind of pulling our digital resources for the teachers to try to put it all in one place. The academic team, we worked collaboratively with them as well, just trying to get everything streamlined for our teachers so they weren't so overwhelmed. And one of my teammates will talk about these resources a little bit later. But the main thing that I needed to do with our team was really look at that element of improvement. And like I said, our team was working 24 hours plus, just really being listeners, and you'll hear a little bit more about that from the panel. But from my perspective, as a leader of the team, I really needed to focus on the acts of improvement and really try to work hard with the 27 team members to truly align our work and really try to figure out smart ways, not laborious ways, to improve our professional learning for our teachers. So I am going to kind of have some of our panels talk about our newly invented virtual office hours. Our on-demand was very popular in the past. We had been doing a lot of webinars, a lot of live webinars, and teachers earning certification for that as well. But then we started really moving into on-demand, and a panel will share with you about that. And then just a different way that we coached, because we used to be in the classroom hands-on. So how do we coach now? So I'm going to hand the baton over to Jamie Gore, who's going to talk a little bit more about our digital resources.
Thank you, Kristen. Can you hear me okay?
I can. You're doing great.
Okay, thank you. As Kristen mentioned, we really only had a few days to pivot last spring, and we had a department website that was really robust and had a ton of resources, but we wanted to create a one-stop shop so that we would have a place for easy access for teachers for remote learning resources. We didn't want them frustrated and having to search our entire website, so we developed the Digital Learning and Action Support page. And this page was really a time saver for us and for them, because we could easily update it and keep it current with content, and the teachers could easily bookmark and reference it as needed. We also made some major updates on our Microsoft Teams page. We created additional page that was devoted to using Teams with students, and we started developing and creating new support documents and videos for teachers and students that were specific to remote learning. We were also organizing our digital resources that we already had, so that, again, that they could quickly access those resources. We shared our resources using our department website, Microsoft Teams, Twitter, through our NTech newsletter and NTech blog posts, and also through staff emails. We found that using our posts in our Microsoft Teams was very effective. We would share links and resources with schools that we support and other groups, such as the MIE team that was already established. The members of our team would also send direct staff messages to the schools that they serve. And we would continue working and creating our NTech blog posts and monthly newsletters to highlight the digital resources. We learned the value of our resources during this time. We saw record spikes in site usage when analyzing our webpage, newsletters, blogs, and Twitter posts. We had over a 300% increase in newsletter and blog views during the spring compared to 2019. And there were over 13,000 new users just on our Microsoft support pages alone. So a lot of usage out of our resources. Starting this fall, we've begun using Microsoft SharePoint for internal staff training, and we began creating our learning pathways using SharePoint. So now our department now has internal and an external system in place to share digital resources with the district. We've improved our workflow and our document security in the process, thanks to this pivot to remote learning. And looking at our Microsoft Teams resources that we created, the big issue for our district is we didn't have an LMS system in place, so we really needed a quick solution last spring. Most of our elementary schools were using Seesaw, but we didn't have a solution for our other grades. So teachers did have prior knowledge of using Teams. Most of our schools were already using Teams with their staff, and the grade levels were using Teams with one another. But our team had been training over 3,000 teachers and leaders on Teams during the MIE training prior to the spring. So we're really in a great place to transition into using Teams with students. So the district made it available for student use at this time. And we used Teams live events. We offered those for teachers, students, and parents to spread awareness and support. And we had a lot of our Microsoft, our high-end users that were jumping in using Teams with students just right away in the spring. And they were using the video conferencing, they were uploading resources, scheduling assignments for students, using the posts to create announcements and links to resources and the channels for specific classes or small groups of students that they were working with. And at this time, our teacher and student resources, we already had some created for Microsoft Teams, but at this time, we're really creating additional content specific to remote learning and working with students. The success with online instruction using Microsoft Teams really spread to other teachers across the district at this time.
Thank you, Jamie. I'm going to hand the baton over now to Catherine.
Hi, can everybody hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right, excellent. So one of the ways that we supported our teachers after March 15th was to create virtual office hours. And basically what this was a link that we sent out to all the schools and all the teachers where they could click and go to a live Microsoft Teams meeting. And on that Teams meeting, there were TTISs ready to answer questions, provide support. We could look at their screen. And it just created a safe space for teachers to go when they felt out of sorts, or they felt like something wasn't working right, or to get advice, or just to get a sounding board from an instructional technology point of view. And it was very successful. We had lots of teachers join us, and all the TTIs worked in 2-hour shifts, sort of on call during this time. And we had teachers who would just show up just to listen. They didn't even have questions. They called it the TTIS podcast. They just called and listened to other people's questions. We had teachers make connections with teachers from other schools that they may have never met before, or different subject areas. And so it was sort of a de facto community for our teachers to get that support that they really needed when everybody was sort of feeling alone and feeling isolated. So that was very popular, positive. When we came back in the new year, and they'll talk about this in a second, we had a new LMS system. So suddenly this hotline, or our virtual office hours, got very, very popular very, very quickly. And we found that sort of the wait time got a little too long, and that was frustrating for our teachers. So we switched over from sort of that open meeting format to a link that was to a form that teachers would go fill out their question, and a TTIS would immediately, jump on a chat or jump on a call with that teacher to help them find exactly what they needed. And we had some pros and cons with that. The pros obviously were we could support a lot more teachers a lot faster, and teachers felt like their questions were getting answered quickly. They weren't waiting in line on an open call. We did have some teachers, though, that let us know, hey, go back to the old format. I loved that. I love being able to hear other people's questions and know what other people were thinking. So just depending on, I think, how big your audience is with doing the virtual office hours. But all in all, no matter how we ran it, it was an excellent opportunity for our teachers and for us to make connections and stay connected and stay up on what was going on and make sure that our teachers really felt that support from us, even though we couldn't, show up in their classroom or show up in the building.
Thank you, Catherine. I'm going to hand the baton over now to Whitney Prather.
All right. Hopefully everybody can hear me okay. Yes, we hope.
Sounds good.
Excellent. So I am our on-demand webinar project team lead, as well as professional learning. And as Kristen said, prior to March 2020, we had a very robust library going back to the spring of 2015 of various topics for webinars. These were presented in both live and on-demand formats. However, we definitely made a change immediately in March 2020. Obviously, when all of this began on March the 13th, we knew that teachers would need to have quick and accessible information to immediately integrate certain tools into a remote learning environment. So we developed what we refer to as the on-demand shorts or the how-to webinars. Team members created brief presentations, just 5 to 7 minutes, on about a dozen different tools that teachers could use to get up and running immediately. And we released about 3 to 4 of these a week, all the way through the first week of April. As we continue to plan for ongoing remote learning professional development in the spring, we supplemented our webinars with additional EdTech webinars from other reliable sources, such as Everfi, Apple, Microsoft, Leslie Fisher, ITSE, and others, just providing teachers with a one-stop shop where they could immediately link in and learn more, expound on their current knowledge, or just get ideas for how to use technology in remote learning. Beginning in April of 2020 and continuing through May, we focused weekly on-demand releases, both in live and on-demand formats, on how to use various tools. Many of these tools were tools such as Nearpod, which was provided as a free trial throughout the spring and summer. We also focused on district purchase tools such as Newsella and all these tools that Microsoft gives us access to. We provided webinars that gave our teachers immediate directions on how to implement these tools in a remote learning environment, as well as ideas on how to use them. In several of the webinars for Microsoft Teams, we collaborated with Microsoft to provide community webinars for both students and families, showing them how they can use Teams, in addition to providing Teams instructions for teachers. We made a move to Teams for on-demand webinars, and we also provided support sessions on Friday afternoons for follow-up, which was a little bit similar to our TTIS web help desk, where people could just come in and we would have experts in what had been presented in that week's on-demand webinars so that teachers could get ideas and get support for what they needed. And of course, where it was possible, we referred teachers to our previous webinars. Currently, we are moving forward with our learning management system in a shared synchronous learning environment, and we are in the process of ramping up weekly releases of new on-demand webinars that will focus on the recommended layout of a lesson from our academics department. So we will be presenting webinars on different topics and focus specifically on the lesson's opening, work session, and closing, and how tools can be integrated at elementary, middle, and high school levels for all three for that tool. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Whitney. I'm going to pass the baton over to Dr. Alicia.
Thank you. Prior to March 13th, as Kristen said, TTIS has served 4 schools. We provided training based on district and school needs, as well as coaching and modeling. Our coaching was primarily face-to-face, meeting with teachers individually during their planning time or before and after school. In addition, through job-embedded professional learning, we scheduled times to model innovative tools in classrooms with students, with follow-up coaching to empower teachers to continue using these tools with their students. After March 13th, we shifted to virtual coaching. With additional responsibilities mentioned in the previous, with the previous speakers, we found we needed to shift our coaching. Many of us were meeting with teachers via Teams, after hours, and on weekends in order to support them, in addition to the creating of the necessary items we needed to support the whole district. We still found time to meet with our teachers. Many teachers needed support, hand-holding, and for us to listen to them. And we had to change this and be more available to do these things for them. Teachers were overwhelmed and simply just trying to survive. As we shared stories of our virtual coaching experiences with our own team members, we each discussed that what teachers needed most from us and what we provided was a greater amount of compassion, care, and empathy. As teachers became more comfortable with online teaching, we found more opportunities to be guests in online classrooms to share new tools with their students. We amplified what teachers were doing via Twitter, and success stories began to emerge.
Thank you, Monica. I'm going to hand the baton over now to Jenna.
Before March 16th, the Cobb Tech department had been building a Twitter following to really build up that virtual engagement. And we've been building that following for several years. Historically, our account really focused on two areas: marketing and sharing our Cobb teacher successes. But after we transitioned into a remote learning environment, it became very clear to us that we were going to need to leverage every platform that we had. And so we really leaned into and utilized our Twitter account to share as much information as we could. Around the time we went into remote teaching, our department Twitter account had a following of around 2,000 people. And a large portion of that following, of course, included our Cobb teachers, our leaders, our support staff. So we already knew that sharing content via that platform would reach our teachers and our staff, or at least a good portion of them. In addition to our department level accounts, each Cobb Tech team member maintains a professional Twitter account. So in turn, they can reach their own followings. They can provide their own customized content that really relates to their schools or their levels that they support, or they can retweet the department content. So we knew that leveraging Twitter would be a great way to connect with our teachers during this time, share as many resources as we could, and really reach every nook and cranny that we could. After we shifted into what would become our new normal after March 16th, we decided to hone in on a few different things via our Twitter platform. First, we continued the promotion of our team digital learning resources that Jamie referred to earlier, and as well as Whitney with our professional learning. So we made sure to promote our on-demand webinars, any professional learning opportunities that were provided in county, but we also promoted larger venues like our Microsoft and our Smart Professional Learning. We also provided direct links to resources provided from our Intech site. Our overall goal was to continue to drive traffic to those resources and make it an easy place for teachers to click and find what they needed. Those resources we wanted to be, to really meet the needs of all our learners. So step-by-step tutorials, videos, on-demand learning sessions, anytime learning. We tried to cover all of our bases and make it as easy as possible. We did also increase the frequency of these type of posts, our promo posts, because at this point, teaching just became the hours, the standard work hours or the traditional work hours. As we know, teaching doesn't really fall into any sort of standard, but teachers work around the clock. But we knew that, our Twitter following may not be accessing that account and during the standard work hour days. So we made sure to post in the evenings, earlier in the mornings, and we really tried to hit all around the clock to serve our audience and to meet their needs. We also continue to amplify teacher success to help us steer the conversation, highlight those best practices, and help provide real-life examples for our Cobb teachers and staff that needed that support. For many of our TTIS team members, storytelling via Twitter became a great way to summarize positive learning experiences in short snippets. We discovered through threaded conversations that could be hosted on Twitter, TTISs could share out examples of effective lessons they saw specifically at their own schools, and then they could tweet them out in that conversation and form what was really like a one-stop shop for teachers. So when you go to find an idea on Twitter or use it as a PLN, you're not just seeing one singular idea, you're seeing a whole list of positive examples from real life classrooms. We also encouraged retweeting and sharing ideas from our teachers, from our TTISs, and from our department account, which allowed us to spotlight teachers and show what they were actually doing. It allowed us to continue to have that credibility with our teachers because we're showing examples from actual classrooms, from actual teachers. But it also gave us the opportunity to steer that conversation a little bit. By picking and choosing what we shared on our platform, we could help steer teachers who might have lost their way, if you will, or maybe needed a little guidance as far as what's safe or what's county approved. So it really helped us steer that conversation. In addition to our typical content, our amplifying and our promo, our marketing, we also added 2 new daily features. And so one of those features is the tip of the day. The tip of the day was meant to be a quick takeaway that would provide a direct link to a resource for teachers, whether that was an outside resource outside of Cobb or something directly linked into our InTech website. We also added a daily challenge feature that was intended to not only build our engagement within our following, but also give us a way to model how teachers could connect with their own students by kind of modeling how we were connecting with our following on Twitter. The daily challenges included themes like hashtag Maker Monday or hashtag Microsoft Monday, and they shared a task or activity that typically focused around some sort of critical thinking skills. Now, we focused on critical thinking skills with the intention that teachers who would use these ideas would be able to easily modify them to really meet the needs of their specific content standards as well as their curriculum. The daily challenges were also set up so schools and teachers, admin teams could easily grab that content, the graphic we provided, the information from the tweet, and they could share it on their own platforms, whether that was their school Instagram, their school Facebook, however they were communicating with their communities, they could use that same content. Because Twitter had such an emphasis on being concise and to the point, utilizing this platform really helps us provide small snippets to our teachers, our leaders, and our staff, and it allows us to be timely and really put information out there in the moment that it's needed or necessary. We really like being able to ignite the spark with innovative practices and digital tools, but do it in a way that's simplified, easy, and the teachers can take that info for what it is, or they can go in a deeper dive, but they don't have to because they can pull directly what they see from that Twitter account, from that Twitter post. Within our tweets, we always try to include a direct link resource if it's possible. We also like to include a graphic for visual purposes. We've always encouraged the use of our hashtag Cobb in Tech. This makes it easy for us to focus in on the conversation and really keep up with our teachers. After we transitioned into the digital learning environment, we also added in the hashtags hashtag Cobb DigiLearn and hashtag Cobb DigiLead. So using those hashtags really, and requesting that Cobb teachers and leaders use those hashtags really helped streamline the process for us for amplifying our teacher success. So we didn't necessarily have to seek out examples of classroom success because if teachers are using that hashtag, if leaders are using that hashtag, those examples are showing right up in our notifications, so we can easily share what we feel is appropriate and what we think would be good examples for other teachers, support staff, and leaders. We're going to talk a little bit more about how we amplify our teacher success outside of Twitter, so we're going to move on over to Whitney.
Thanks, Jenna.
Thank you, Jenna. Another way that we highlighted teacher success during the shift to remote learning was an adjustment with our teacher highlights. Prior to March 2020, we had highlighted roughly 1 to 2 teachers a month for integration of a tool in their classroom, integration of an idea, integration of technology management. But when remote learning hit, everyone was trying something new, and we found that particularly after about a month through April and May, that many people were experiencing success. So instead of just highlighting 1, 2, even 3 teachers, it was impossible. We developed a Digital Learning Days scrapbook where we took pictures submitted to us from teachers, team members, or even directly off Twitter to highlight all the wonderful growth with remote learning and technology integration with teachers throughout our district, as well as celebrating their and student success.
Thank you, Whitney. All right, so the summer came. So that was a lot of work that we did just in spring. And then you heard a lot of different information of how we are carried over a lot of the things that we did in the spring. But one thing that we hit during the summer is that we had always done face-to-face professional learning. And within about a 2-week period, we learned that we need to move our professional learning, either cancel it or move it to online. So we moved all our courses that we usually offer during the summer, and we actually added a lot of new menu items to our professional learning because of the circumstance that we were just coming out of, and then the unknowns of, are we going back face-to-face? Are we doing remote? Are we doing virtual? What are we doing? So when that happened, then we started kicking into some high gear at the district level. And a lot of you have met with Janelle McClure before, who is our point of contact for the Cobb Teaching and Learning System, or also known as CTLS. And under her leadership and with cross-divisional partnerships, we really had rolled out successfully the teach leg of CTLS and the assess side. And we were in development on learn and parent. And over the summer and all of spring, we heard over and over and over again how teachers were very frustrated, how students were very frustrated, and how parents were very frustrated that they had to go to multiple places to accomplish similar tasks. So again, cross-divisionally, we worked very, very hard to amp up or really set it on fire, getting the learn side and the parent side up and standing over the summer, with a lot of different development features. And then another thing that we did cross-divisionally is the instructional technology team and the Cobb Virtual Academy teams started developing the digital learning in Cobb course, which was the expectation of anyone or all who would be remote teaching would need to take this baseline class to get them kind of comfortable with best practices, some of the things that we heard earlier this morning from the Georgia Virtual Academy team. And again, this project was cross-divisional too. We worked not only with our content supervisors, but our student special services team, our English language learners team, our title team. So it was a very cross-divisional approach on developing this course. So moving into fall, we went 100% remote. And so within, we were very blessed because instead of having just the traditional 1-week pre-planning, the superintendent allowed us to have 3 weeks pre-planning. So the first week of pre-planning, the teachers took the online course. It was a self-paced course. And we were just expecting the teachers to do it. But when we went back and looked at the data, not only did we have teachers, but we had leaders, we had parapros, we had just support staff that we didn't even expect to participate in that course, did take that course, the Digital Learning in Cobb course. And at the same time, we were rolling out the CTLS Learn and Parent branches of the Cobb Teaching and Learning System. So during our pre-planning, we worked collaboratively with academics, but we really focused on 3 big ideas. And the first week was just best practices of online instruction and just establishing an online presence in CTLS Learn. Most of the time in the first week, the teachers are making everything cute and putting pencils on the desk and name tags and posters. So we really had to work on how do you create that online presence to really start building, which our second week was the engagement piece. How do you engage students? How do you engage parents in a remote situation? And then the third week, and each week the teachers were building in CTLS Learn a more robust digital classroom. And then the third week, we really looked at establishing rigorous and relevant online digital classrooms where we were really looking at that instructional framework of the opening, the work session, and the closing, and how all the different elements, resources that the Cobb provided to our teachers and how that would fit in. This right here is, I had to show it because I was just so proud of this teacher. This is actually a sketch note from a high school teacher as she completed the DigiLearn course. And you can kind of see some of the modules highlighted here. Module 1 was just digital learning basics. 2 was digital citizenship and safety. 3, digital classrooms in Cobb. 4 is digital assessment and feedback. 5, digital differentiation. And number 6, putting it all together in CTLS. So once the anyone who took that course online, they did have a good basics working online classroom from that course. And then, like we said, the next 2 weeks, academics really did an amazing job, as well as instructional technology supporting that on the technical side of really building those digital classrooms. These are tweets that we really got a lot of positive feedback from leadership and from teachers that they really felt like it was a lot of professional learning. I think it was like teachers had the opportunity, if they wanted to almost 180 hours of professional learning. Obviously, they didn't take advantage of it, but all of it's recorded so they can have anytime learning moving later. So now we are in shared synchronous learning. We have some students who are face-to-face, and we still have students who are remote. And the teacher's teaching both of them at the same time. So we are working, again, with the partnership with academics to really create model lessons for anytime professional learning. And you can kind of see from the grade levels that it's 4 core areas, and then we're moving out in our non-core now, and really looking at that instructional framework of the opening, the work session, and the closing. So that's what our big push now is just really supporting the teachers to be the best they can be in that shared synchronous learning environment. So I just want to say thank you to the panel one more time. And Leilani, we are welcome to stay on. We have about 4 minutes if we have any burning questions.
I'm watching for questions. Seeing anybody raise your hand. Everybody that's listening in, please raise your hand or type something into the question panel. This was a majestic undertaking by a whole team. You're lucky you have a whole team, Kristen.
Yes.
A lot of places don't. They're one-man bands out there desperate to figure things out. I'm assuming that people will be contacting you, especially after we have this video go live, you know, online from all over the place to, you know, sort of get some of your resources, because, you know, we watched the other 50% of the market that hadn't really gone digital yet at all. Right. Join the fray in April, and you know, all the way through the summer. I think one of the hardware vendors said they pushed out 18 million machines in under 3 months. So there's a lot of people that are playing catch up right now, and they're trying to Google Docs their way to glory only, or Microsoft, and they don't have all the other stuff in place, and they're going to be looking to copy paste, you know. So thank you for leading. The thing that I want to ask you from the Learning Council and the Edu Jedi is really, how far evolved do you feel you are on balance with all teachers? Because this is a long ways for some, you know, to get to, in terms of like they've constructed their whole pathways and they have everything like laid down, and others maybe were further along. What do you think the evolution pattern looks like?
Well, I feel like pre-March 13th, like you saw some of our data, we had a high number of teachers and leaders that participated in optional certification. This wasn't something that was required. They didn't receive anything other than a plastic cling and a digital badge. So we had a lot of forward-thinking, very proactive teachers in Cobb. And then we had, you know, when you look at the little spectrum of the early adopters, you know, the current, I call them, I think Ron Clark calls them too, you know, the joggers. Some people sit on the sofa. But one thing that was, you know, it was unfortunate, but it was very rewarding in the spring, was that the teachers that the coaches had really been working with big time, they were soaring. And what our goal is to really build capacity in people and then watch them make those ripples with other people. And so we really saw the capacity that we had built with teachers in the spring really supporting others. And then a lot of the teachers that were reluctant or really kind of didn't pay attention or wanted to get on the boat or the bus with us in the spring came out and said, okay, I need you now, I need you there. So we met them exactly where they were. So, you know, all teachers are always going to be, you know, at different places, and we try to meet them where they are. And then secondly, you said with the video, that's why we gave you that digital handout. All the links that we refer to are in that digital handout.
Okay. So a lot of progress then, and rapid maturing overall audience of teachers. this is a significant thing. What do you think is the next thing? What's your future hold?
So I think the next thing, and that's what we're doing now, is just being very intentional on the best practices of the instructional framework with that dual environment of some students being remote, some students being face-to-face, and then kind of building on what we heard from the Georgia virtual team, really building up best practices and modeling for blended learning and how we can really, we've been talking about personalized learning, but how can that really become a true reality with the CTLS resource that we now have?
I totally agree. I think we're headed in the 100% personalized pathway reality once hybrid logistics really bites in terms of what software is available in the market. It's not here yet. Definitely coming, because the overwhelm on the teacher plate is sky high.
Agreed.
It's you kind of have to, I'm sure it's kind of emotional for you guys sometimes. You go like, all you really need to do is give them a hug,
Yes.
half the time.
That's what Monica was alluding to, that basically, I mean, anytime that we see anyone, we kind of give them a virtual hug first before anything else.
Yeah, I'm sure you have
Meet
to.
them where they are. Thanks again for the opportunity.
Yeah, thank you guys for joining us.